What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivanshi, and this month is Women's History Month. And what are we going to be doing on our Film Wednesdays? We're going to be celebrating women in film. Now, you might be thinking, Kivanshi, you're always talking about women in films, whether it's men or whatever, but I did some digging and I wanted to find stories that were women focused, women centered, whether it was for women's rights, women's autonomy, telling stories of women from other countries. So there's some international films and stuff mixed in here. And that includes whether the woman is number one on the call sheet. It includes whether the woman is the writer and or director or cinematographer. When you have shows and movies, you can almost always tell what lens they're being told to or told through, especially when you get to feel the authenticity of the storytelling and whatever is shaping that character and what's going around the story. So I went and did my researchicals, got on my Googles, and decided on 4 films for this month. And today, if you saw the title, we're gonna be doing 9 to 5. So I remember going to my stateroom on the cruise last month and I was getting ready to like head to bed. I want to say it was our last night there. And I look up at the TV and I see Dolly Parton and Lily Tomlin in a movie. And I'm like, what is this? And so I could tell it was pretty old, but come around the corner, then I end up seeing Jane Fonda, and I'm like super geeked up because Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin's friendship has spanned like 50 years. They're constantly trying to find projects that work where they work together. And I watch Grace and Frankie every night. Okay, it's Grace and Frankie, it's the Golden Girls. Top tier comedy, top tier chemistry, just absolutely amazing. So I already knew from jump I wanted to do 9 to 5. Now, they do have big names in them. Like I just said, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, and Dolly Parton. But the storyline, after digging through it and everything, is very much women-centered, very much woman-forward, especially if you know the filmography of Jane Fonda, who just received a Lifetime Achievement at the SAG Awards. Yay! Lily Tomlin had already received hers before. But if you know Jane Fonda, every film that she does, she's an activist in some way, shape, or form, whether it's for racial injustice or racial ethnicity, sexism, bigotry, all types of stuff. She's constantly in those projects, behind the scenes, as well as in front of the scenes and on the front lines as a known activist and a very famous activist in America. So of course I had to do this film. So if you've never heard of it, 9 to 5 is a film set in 1980. It's an hour and 49 minutes. The logline says employees Violet, Judy, and Doralee of a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot, Franklin Hart Jr. find a way to turn the tables on him. They go on later to talk about how Dolly Parton's film debut was a short-lived TV sitcom and Broadway musical, but Dolly Parton was absolutely amazing in this. And of course, the movie opens up to none other than Dolly Parton's vocals singing "Working 9 to 5." Like, come on. And I know y'all heard that song. I didn't know. I guess I could have known if I go back in my memory, because Dolly Parton has a very unique singing voice. But it was just really fun and really nice. So the genre is a farce/comedy. The writers are Patricia Resnick and Colin Higgins. The director is Colin Higgins. The cinematographer is Reynaldo Villablobos. The production designer is Dean Mitzner. Set decorator Ann McCulley. Costume designer Ann Roth. The composer is Charles Fox. And then of course we have our cast: Jane Fonda, who plays Judy, Lily Tomlin, who plays Violet, Dolly Parton, who plays Doralee, and Dabney Coleman, who plays Franklin. So there's 2 things happening in this film as far as themes and plots go. And the one that happens right out of the gate is when Judy is hired, and Violet brings her into Franklin's office. I'm trying to like keep the names in my mind. And they're introducing each other, whatever, and he's like, oh, you're like one of the pretty ones. And Judy's like, okay, thanks. And he was like, no, you wouldn't believe some of the ugly mugs that come up in here. So like out the gate, it's like, this is my first day? What? Okay. And then it's not but 5 minutes later where Doralee comes in. He was looking for her. He asked her to come in, and he likes the dress that she's wearing. So he's like, ooh, turn around, step back, and like doing all of these things to like look at her breasts and look at her butt and look at her waist and do all these other things. And with Violet trained Franklin when he first got there, but now Franklin is her boss, and her biggest thing in this workplace is not necessarily some of the come-ons and sexual harassments from Franklin, but it's the fact that Violet knows the business and that entire office inside and out, and he doesn't like that he knows that she's the smartest person in the room, so he goes out of his way to make her do things that's outside of her job description, like get him some coffee, picking up some dry cleaning, going shopping for his wife. He tries to do a lot of things in ways in which humiliates her or degrades her or kind of put her in this housewife status. And it's not to say that a housewife is bad, but the way that he wields some of the tasks that he asks Violet to do is in a way that is direct opposite of who she is. She's a single mother. She has 4 kids. Not only does she have to go to work and put the food on the table, but if something breaks at home, she has to fix it. She's not calling a man to get it done. She's fixing it. She's fixing the garage. She's fixing the plumbing and all of that. So already you're just dealing with so much language that's rooted in condescension, that's rooted in sexism, like we already said in the logline, which Jane Fonda delivers perfectly, which is he is a sexist, egotistical, bigoted, sexist, egotistical, something else, hypocritical bigot. And it's just crazy. Another thing that we also see, it's like a subplot of the sexism within the workplace, is you really get to see in this film how easy it is for women to take a story or a rumor like sleeping with the boss and run with it in the office to try to jump down other women's throats. And Franklin has somebody who literally just hides in different rooms to try to catch gossip, and then she'll report back to him, and then he'll just fire the women, and she only reports the women in the workplace, whether they're talking about being disgruntled, whether they're talking about being underpaid, being passed over for a promotion. This lady is constantly going into Franklin's office, and then she's telling on the women, and then he's having them police escorted from the premise and then subsequently fired for no reason. So for the first half of the film, you're really dealing with 3 women who are trying to just fantasize about ways in which they could get him back, and just talking about the ways in which the male-dominated world is constantly trying to keep them down. One of the things that we end up seeing is that Judy and Violet, they instantly take to each other. Violet basically trains everybody that goes in there, but she particularly likes to look out for the women, so she kind of knows everything that's going on with the women in the office. And again, she knows everything about the business, so she's constantly trying to train them, keep them signed off on all the tasks so that they don't lose their job. Well, Violet ends up warning Judy a little bit when she sees Doralee comes out of the office, and it's basically alluding to the fact that they're having an affair. Y'all, turns out Franklin spread the rumor himself, and they weren't sleeping together at all. In fact, the times that he was coming on to Doralee, she ended up threatening to shoot him in the cojones with her gun. She is a married woman. She is not here to do all of that. So they ended up like having this conversation like at a bar and figuring it out. And so very quickly, you're seeing a film where it's not like, oh, they're trying to other this other woman because she's pretty or she has bigger breasts or whatever. It's like, you know what? This is a nasty, diabolical individual, and we need to make sure that we're sticking together, ladies. And in this, they have a scene where they're smoking weed. They smoking Violet's son's weed, y'all. It's amazing, and it's honestly on brand. If you watch Grace and Frankie today, it's really on brand with Lily Tomlin in general. So I definitely don't doubt that a lot of their own values went into these characters and around the story. So they have like these little fantasies of how they want to get back at him, and the cinematography in this, you know, you have, I would say at this point, like simple transitions where it's like the circle that starts from the back and comes to the front and opens up, or like a swipe right, or like stars or bubbles kind of fading into the scene. But for 1980, I thought they did a really good job at using these transitions for these dream sequences to kind of add to the campiness and the comedy of the movie, as well as the composition and the score that accompanies those. So whenever we're sitting in present times, it's kind of like you're dealing with like the farce of the genre, where you're on these ladies' side and you're just trying to make sure you're rooting for them, and you're just trying to make sure that they do everything that they can to keep their job security while also maintaining their sisterhood. But during their dream sequences, you really get into the comedy of it all, and then just that punchy stuff. I mean, just think like Three Stooges, right? Or just like old funny westerns. It kind of gives you that style. And with that, you really get to see the actors go into these other characters and just stretch a little bit of some of their acting chops in the roles that they're fantasizing about. Now, the second major thing in this film is the workplace, how do I put it? Like the effectiveness and the efficiency of the workplace. So Violet finds out that Franklin be stealing her ideas and then going straight to the president of the company. And he's getting like all of this praise, all of these accolades, and he's still promoting men who came after her, over her, and basically tells her to her face, like, no, this company needs men in these positions. Like you're never gonna be there. And one of the things that we're pushing for, which I ended up seeing when I was on the ship at the end, was her pushing for changing up the workplace instead of it being a grueling 9 to 5. Y'all see what they did there? Having separate work shifts to go within that time frame, but also fit other people's schedules, because this company was a company that was trying to give better hours to men because they have families, as if the majority of their workplace wasn't women with kids, and a lot of them were also single women trying to figure out childcare. So her big goal, Violet, her big goal was having separate shifts, kind of like what we have today, where you're working 7 to 3, you know, 8 to 4, 11 to 5, and stuff like that, to just give people a break, give people overlap, and to reduce burnout. So not only are we tackling sexism and fighting back directly against the boss, but we're also dealing with women who come up with such innovative ideas within the workplace, and men who constantly try to take them and pass them off as their own. And so now there's a fight for autonomy, there's a fight for respect, and there's a fight for just being a woman boss in the workplace, and overall just being taken seriously. So my thoughts on the entire film is simply that while that was done in 1985, what is that, 45 years ago, in a lot of ways we have moved forward in the workplace, but unfortunately we're still dealing with women having to fight for their place, fight for their voice, fight to be included with their ideas and with the execution of things in the workplace. And there's so many other places that we can go now. Like, we're not just, you know, getting computer degrees, secretarial degrees, and stuff like that. Just like you're trying to be like CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and be taken seriously, knowing that when you leave the room, the first thing somebody's gonna say about a woman in charge might be the fact that she's a bitch, while the man who leads exactly like she does or worse, his adjectives are being known as, you know, being charismatic, or he can be hard sometimes, but it's all for the greater good. So it's definitely a movie that kind of marries the seriousness of everything that's going on with the comedy of it all, at sticking it to the man, and not like the USA man, but like literally sticking it to men in leadership in the workplace, to just let people know, like, I'm not just my breasts or lipstick or anything like that. I can actually have big breasts, a big butt, small waist, put on a lot of makeup, do my hair, and run this business better than you can. So as I was watching this movie, of course, you know, it stuck out to me because I've experienced sexism, I've experienced racism, I experienced all of those things in the workplace where I'm labeled a certain way, but somebody who's like me is like looked up to and praised. And I think the overall message of this film is, don't change yourself, and don't allow people to make you feel like you have to be less or look like a man or act like a man to be taken seriously. And that's another thing that I was thinking about as I was watching this film. Like, I think about the WNBA, right? Look at the WNBA players now and how they dress and fashion and stuff like that, and then look at the WNBA players like in the 90s. Okay, you look at rappers, women rappers in like the 80s, 90s, before Lil Kim, and then look at the rappers after Lil Kim. We have people who legit were like super surprised when they saw like MC Lyte get married to a man, and everybody's like, nah, she's gay. Like, look at how she been dressing, look at how she been doing this, look how she been doing that. Women who I watched growing up in basketball, you know, popping out hella kids, and men being like, oh no, I thought they was gay, this, that, and the third. And it's like, no. But in order to be taken seriously, they have to hide their bodies, hide what they like, and hide the majority of their personality just to even get heard in male dominated situations. And so then when you look at it now, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna dunk on this court, but then before and after I came on this court, I got my heels on, I got my little dress on, I'm doing all of these things. Same thing with the rappers. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be out here and I'm gonna look sexy and I'm gonna look good and I'm gonna also out rap you. And so it's crazy at how the more we change, the more things stay the same, because there's always going to be somebody that's like, oh no, you're getting too big or you're getting too loud. We need to make sure that we temper this down just enough to keep you in your place. And so what a perfect movie with these three women who have documented interviews and documented articles about pushing back and not hiding who they are, while still continuing to be loud, while continuing to stand up for themselves and stand up for other women who are like them and women who are going to come after them. So there's that. 9 to 5, starring Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Dolly Parton. What do y'all think? It's on Amazon Prime. I ended up buying it, but you can rent it. I'm pretty sure if you can get on YouTube, and I need to start doing that more. YouTubing these movies first, because a lot of them are also on there for free. So that's where I watched it. I liked it. I definitely recommend it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. I'm not gonna rate any of the films for my, this isn't like when I did the award seasons during January. I'm simply gonna watch them and recommend them and hopefully give you something new to watch, some things that are funny, some things that you can ponder on, and something that you just would never think to watch if you were sitting at home trying to find out something to watch on your own. And of course, as always, celebrating and uplifting women in film. And with that, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell leave comments in the comment box below. If you got people who only want to listen, make sure you share that Spotify and the Apple Podcast link. You can also find me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, as well as Twitter at Kivanchi. I try to respond to everybody as best as I can. Sometimes I don't get all the notifications, especially on Twitter. I don't know what is going on, but I'll come back to like a post and see like 8 comments underneath something and I never even got a notification. But I love talking to y'all about movies. I love having respectful disagreements and being on the opposite sides of things, because what is discourse if we're all on the same side? Doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So just find me on the socials. And with that, I'm going to catch y'all in the next episode.